Hello, hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla. I'm your host. And before we dive into today's episode, I want to preface this by I'm recording in my kitchen and I'm sitting next to our bay window, and there is a giant thunderstorm happening right now. But this is the only time I have to record currently, and I need to get this done. So I apologize. Hopefully, though, I have all the noise filtering on. So hopefully you won't be able to hear it. But today we are going to dive into how I organize and how I would organize my OneNote if I was starting from scratch. And I'm going to share with you how to ditch paper chaos and build a digital hub. And I'm not talking about eliminating paper and pen. Actually, I'm talking about how to sync your paper and pen, mindset, how you love that tactile feel, how you love taking notes in meetings, how to sync that up into a system where you transfer that information in a way that is organized and retrievable for the future into an organized digital space like OneNote. Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. So I'm excited because if you are living in a world where your desk has sticky notes all over it, scattered pieces of paper, long lists that get lost, or they're kind of crumply because you're throwing them in your work bag, you're pulling them out later, and you're like, what did that actually mean? Then this episode is for you. So many of you I know at your work use Microsoft tools, which include Microsoft OneNote. And people that I talk to at work are sometimes afraid of it because it's a whole platform that you have to learn. It's been around for a long time. It has its pros and cons, but overall, I feel like it's a really good place to start if you are a pen and paper person who loves notebooks, but then needs some way to digitally, keep track of, or a digital repository for all your to-do lists, maybe your meeting minutes, further action items. And it has so many wonderful functions like hyperlinking and being able to share that we're going to dive into how I can help you design your OneNote notebook. And if you are, during this episode, if you're thinking, this sounds like a really amazing application that I would love, but I'm not sure how to set it up, I would like some help doing that. Definitely check out the link in the show notes or in the description of this video. If you're watching on YouTube, or in the show notes on the podcast app, because I will link my Organize My Work consulting call. And it's just a free 15 or 30-minute call that we have. It's a one-on-one consultation with me where you kind of tell me your pain points and what you're hoping to achieve. You can share with me whatever work that you feel comfortable sharing. And then I'll, sit down and let you know, okay, I think I can help you or not. And if you're wanting to set up a OneNote, I can help you think about your sections, the different pages in your notebook, how you might, create that whole pen and paper system, how it ties into your email, all of that. So if you're interested in just sitting down for the free consultation, check out the link in my description or in the show notes, and then I'll reach out and schedule a time to meet with you. All right, let us dive into the meat of this episode. So why OneNote? Why would you want to choose OneNote? Okay, so OneNote has some amazing features, like I said, that mirror pen and paper notebooks, but then keep information so it's searchable and shareable. So one of the main features that I love is that within OneNote, when you are actually organizing your sections and pages, it looks like a notebook. And you can organize it as if you have one of those 5-star 5-tab notebooks, except you can have unlimited tabs. So that's wonderful. So I like that. So it's the same, it fits the same function as a normal piece of paper or a notebook, but it's now on the computer. OneNote is actually an app on your phone. It can also be an app on your computer or in the browser. And it does sync across Microsoft applications. So if you're using Outlook for work, you can actually add the OneNote, I guess it's the app, to your Outlook, and you can actually click on an email or create an action item in Outlook and send it to OneNote. So I love that. Like if there's ever an email or an attachment in an email I want to save and I want to organize in a certain place, I will do move to OneNote. I will select the proper section in my notebook, and then I will go from there. It is super seamless. The other awesome thing is that you can share sections, pages, like as little or as much as you want, even full notebooks with other people who you want to give access to. So, for example, if you're working with a client or a customer, or maybe even a specific team, and you want to keep those meeting notes from that team, client, customer, and you want to share those back out, you can actually download that page into a PDF, or you can actually get a shareable link and just share that section with them, copy and paste that link into an email or a chat or whatever. And now they have access to it. And that's great because you can give them access to view or to edit. So it can be very collaborative in that way. This kind of allows you to keep things in a central repository without having to like repurpose or like redo any work. You don't need to retype notes. You can just keep them in one spot. The other thing I love about OneNote is that it is, you can put templates in there. So you can create custom templates, whether it's a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet or just grids or to-do list. You can make your own, or OneNote already has templates built into them. So for example, you can actually go to the top section of your notebook and then do insert page templates. And they have, you can search for a bunch. One of the ones I love is called formal meeting notes. And when you add that, it has a spot for an agenda, attendees, the opening, approval of agenda, approval of minutes, open issues, new business, etc. So it has like all the things you would need without having to think about it. So Microsoft has done some work for you to try to help save you time with templates. It's also hyperlink friendly. So not just sharing, but let's say you're in one section of your notebook and you want to refer to another section. All you have to do is copy text that you want to link, create a link or, say link, and then find the section or page you want to link to, copy that in, and then you can, and it automatically creates a hyperlink. So you can, from then on, click those words and it's going to jump to the section that you love. So what I'm saying is that OneNote does what paper does, which provides value to you by, making sure everything's documented. But OneNote brings strategy because it's searchable, can be used in the future, can be shareable, and it's going to help you not lose or forget anything that you might just lose if you have a random piece of paper that you aren't sure if it's significant. One of the reasons why I don't want to encourage you to go away from paper on some level is because there is science that says if we write things down with our hand, then we remember it better and it becomes more ingrained. I know this to be true because I will write something down. Even if I never find that note again, I usually remember some of it, right? So versus if I type something in, there are notes I'll go back to later and I'm like, I don't remember typing that because my brain never processed it. So this system of integrating paper and then adding to your digital OneNote actually helps you sort through, sift through information. It helps you determine what's most important. That discernment is really important because sometimes we take a lot of notes and they're not all relevant. And then it helps you organize it. So that's wonderful. All right. So those are just some of the main benefits of OneNote. I also just love there's so many other options. Like you can actually have, if you use Microsoft Outlook, you can show your meetings in a pane right next to kind of within your notebook, which is wonderful. You can do a record video, so a screen share, and that's going to save right inside OneNote. So if you're training a team member or you're trying to create a work aid for someone, that is super helpful. You can insert videos, pictures, PDFs, spreadsheets, files. You can actually do what's called a file printout where it's displaying the PDF or the page or whatever the file is on the page as a picture. So you can see it versus just, the icon of the document where you have to click and open it. So I really love that. And then the other last thing I'll say about the benefits is that if you are an iPad user or somebody that has a tablet that can have the OneNote app on it, this is such a lovely way to use it. So you can put this app on your iPad, for example, and take pen and paper notes, essentially, except for it's with your digital pen on your digital tablet. take notes that way or draw things, whatever you need to do to work it out. And then that's automatically going to sync to your OneNote in the cloud, which means that if you open it on your desktop or you open it in your computer app or on your phone, you're going to see your handwriting. So that's wonderful. So it kind of benefits you both ways. If you decide to take a notebook around, but it's really your tablet, you can do that and still type in it later. So it just has all these cross functionalities. I think it's beautiful. You can also color code it and you can make sections into subsections. So there's just lots of different organization. You can make your tabs for each section across the top versus the side. So it's just really customizable to the way that your brain works. All right. So now that I've shared why OneNote, why I think it's really the perfect partner for a person who loves pen to paper, is how do you decide your structure of the notebook? So the first thing I would want you to think about is start with categories or buckets based on your work. So think about your scope or your span of work. Do you manage multiple lab areas or maybe various areas within labs? So let me give you an example. If you manage a lab department and it's one lab, maybe your laboratory needs oversight over equipment. So you might have an equipment tab or an equipment section. Maybe you're overseeing the test menu. So you might have the tests. Maybe you have a section for your direct reports if you're a leader. And maybe that subsection has subsections for each person on your team. So think about how can you categorize or bucket your work? And this will kind of, when you're designing the notebook and when we work together up to, see what the ideal way or framework would be, sometimes it's trial and error because you kind of think about all the different ways you could structure something. Think about like at a very zoomed out level versus a very zoomed in level. So you can get as high level or as detailed as you want. For example, you could have a one-on-one meetings section and then the name of each of your direct reports and then subsections for each of them with the meeting minutes. Or you could have a tab for that person and every interaction you have with them is there, like your one-on-ones or maybe kudos or corrective action. Like you can organize it in so many different ways. It's just about thinking about how does your brain best organize it. So that's the first step. Think of the categories and the buckets. The second thing I would want you to think about is identify what you usually forget or what you need visibility on. So if we have a need to create a digital notebook somewhere where things can last, it's a repository, we know things are not going to get lost. Why are we doing that? So maybe you're struggling with remembering all of the action items, or maybe you need a quick way to pull up meeting minutes and action items from specific clients. Or maybe you want a digital place to document your workplace habits or standard work. Or maybe you're like, oh, I always forget that in September, let's say it's patient blood management month, for example. And I want to be proactive and plan something for that, but I never think of it. Well, maybe you want to create a yearly planning spread where it's just the months of the year and the activities, the sales, the promotions, those types of things that happen throughout the year. So you can make sections for anything or pages for anything that you forget about or you need visibility on. So it's more than just being organized and having it look nice, but it's actually about functionality. So some examples I already shared. Running to-do lists is one of my favorite things to have. I like to keep my notebook simple. So my main section is literally a running to-do list. And I just brain dump anything and everything that comes at me during the day. Then I take those tasks and I might put them in my Kanban boards, like I talked about in the episode before this one. I'll link that in the show notes. Or maybe it's just a quick thing I just got to do. I put a to-do list checkbox in front of it. I take care of the item and I check it off. So it's just sort of the second brain, if you will, like where I document everything that I'm thinking about and make sure it gets organized or scheduled. Meeting minutes, I would say, is one of the biggest things people like to keep in OneNote because of the shareability, because you can have a template and everything is easy to copy paste. So you never really have to make a brand new template. Once you have something in there and you like it, copy paste. It's super easy. All right. So now that we've talked about sort of how you decide your structure, what the categories or buckets are for your work, and identify what you usually forget and need visibility on, let's talk about an example OneNote setup. There's sort of a hierarchical way that OneNote works. So first you have the notebook. And in OneNote, the cool thing is you can have multiple notebooks that show up under your account. So in my demo OneNote, and the one that I use for my own business, I've got my 2024 Leader Standard Workbook, a daily Leader Standard notebook that's a OneNote test. So I must have been playing around in there. I have a leadership playbook for healthcare professionals that I've been playing around with. I have a podcast OneNote. And then I have one of the potential clients that I'm working with. I have a demo for this person just to, sort of think about how do we want to structure the notebook. So there are just so many ways that so many different notebooks you can have. So you basically, you do a file new and you do a new notebook. And then within each notebook, the next hierarchical category would be a section. So you add a section, and within each section is a page. So sections, there can be as many sections as you want. And then within that, you can have as many pages as you want. So that's sort of I would say, the main hierarchical strategy. Now, you can also do a new section group, which means that, okay, it's a section that I don't necessarily want to have like 80 pages in. Maybe I want to have a section called laboratories. And then underneath that, I want to have blood bank, cell therapy, and apheresis. And then each of those sections has their own pages rather than having one section that's called like all the labs I manage. And then there being one page for each lab, which would not be enough structure. I would need a lot of different pages for those labs. So new section group is nice. That's a newer functionality in OneNote. Now within each section, as I was saying, you can add pages. And the cool thing about pages is if you have more than one page, you can make the second page or the one underneath the top page a sub page. So that's great because then it becomes where you can, expand or contract the accordion, just like the section group that might have multiple sections. So you can have it open all the time and see every page that you have, or you can have it default to be closed and then just open it when you want to see it. So this might be nice where, let's say I've got a notebook for my work within my healthcare system. And then maybe I have a new section group that's for laboratories that I manage. And then within that, there are 3 sections. I might have blood bank, apheresis, and cell therapy. And then maybe that section, the blood bank section might have a page that's kind of the head page that's called transfusion committee meeting minutes. And then if I add pages that are sub pages underneath that, and I just title them for the date of the meeting. So you can see how it's like kind of like a file folder system, but it's in a notebook and it's unlimited tabs, it's unlimited pages, and it's very logical. So again, this is why I think if you love notebooks and you might not be like all into Kanban cards, or maybe you only want to do Kanbans or visual organizational systems for projects, the notebook or the digital notebook of OneNote is lovely. Now, the other thing I didn't mention when I was thinking about features, but I should have, I'll mention it here when I talk about pages. So within OneNote, once you start to click on a page, you can click anywhere and type anywhere in that page. Once you do that, the text becomes part of a text box, if you will, and that box can move around freeform. Now, this isn't like Microsoft Word where you have to change the picture where the text wraps around it, or if it's square around it. No, this is just literally pick it up and move it anywhere. It doesn't matter. So that's super nice. The other cool feature is that, especially if you use this for business, Microsoft Copilot is embedded into this OneNote. And so if you're in a page and you want to use Copilot to record a meeting, to take notes on a section, to summarize a section, to create a task list from a meeting notes or rewrite the meeting notes, you can do that. So if you have any experience with Copilot, it's basically like it is the AI for Microsoft If you think about like ChatGPT or Otter AI or something like that, or like, Google's AI, it's like this for Microsoft. Now, that's just the basic overview of how to set up a OneNote notebook. And again, everything's searchable. So if you're trying to find something, there's a search bar that you can search through your notebooks, certain pages, everything that you have in OneNote. Once you're done with notebooks, there is a way to close it. And I believe that is basically how you archive it so you don't see it all the time. And if you want to retrieve it again, you just go File, Open. It lives in your OneDrive. So you can get to these notebooks from, the internet or from the app. There's lots of ways to access them, and you can change what you're seeing. The other thing I should mention is that, again, to be available across platforms, app, on your phone, on your computer, on the web, sometimes you will need to make sure that the notebook is synced. So you want to go to the notebook sync status and just make sure it's up to date. If not, sync it and you should see all of your information. So just something to keep in mind. You can have it automatically sync. It's just that's just something that I've noticed. If I leave everything open all the time, never close it, it's just a good idea to make sure everything is synced. All right, now I just want to highly touch over the shareable pieces of your OneNote. So like I said, if you want to share your notebook or a page or notes within a page with a team or a client, all you got to do is select that section and you can hit the share. It'll have share entire notebook, copy link to notebook, email copy of page, manage access. You can do a file print. So there's just so many ways to share with clients, with yourself. You can email yourself, save pages that way. It's just lovely. If you are somebody who likes having certain templates that are digital, but you want to print them out to write in them during the day, this is another great idea where you build something in OneNote, you print it out, and then you can either scan it in there and, save it as a file or a file printout, which is like a file preview, or you just then digitize it by typing everything in. So you're following that template you've outlined for yourself in OneNote. The other thing I want to share is this is a very collaborative app across work streams. So if you happen to use, let's say, Microsoft Teams, you can actually open the OneNote notebook within your Teams app, and it'll be in all your channels that you create. You can create OneNote notebooks for different projects or Teams channels, or just your own personal OneNote. So it's nice to have it there. It'll also be, like I said, in the internet. If you're using Microsoft, like an application, like a SharePoint site, you'll see it there within the applications section when you go to open your intranet or open other apps for Microsoft. And I will say what I see people using this for mostly in my line of work and in other folks I talk to from the podcast is that it's really helpful for project managers because they're taking notes for entire projects and they can share links and give access to external customers to this OneNote, which is lovely. It's also great for consultants and leaders, anybody who's got to keep a ton of information in multiple different buckets organized. It's great for them. Now, I love to give tutorials all on OneNote, so I will link past videos I've done on different OneNote notebooks in the show notes in the description below. I also am hoping to make a partner tutorial sometime this week that aligns with this episode, kind of showing you the hierarchical system of OneNote and some of the things I've discussed, but you can probably get a lot of that by watching my other tutorials. So I figured I've done them before. They've done well on YouTube, so I will link them below for you. If you are like, wow, okay, I feel like I've got a paper chaos situation going on. I do love pen and paper. That's how I process, but I need a digital system, but I'm not exactly sure how to organize it, or I would like somebody to look at it for me, somebody who's external, who isn't in this, this area every day, who can have sort of that high level overview and give me some tips maybe I'm not seeing. I would love it if you booked a free coffee chat consultation with me. We can talk about your digital organization system and we could see if you'd be a good fit to work together. But if anything else, I just love meeting people that listen to the podcast and hear about their, struggles with work or the things that are working really well with organization that I've taught. And so I would love to meet you. I'll have a link to this form you can fill out. It's called the Organize My Work consultation call. Super easy to fill out, only a few questions. And once you fill that out, I will reach back out to you and we can set up a time. I'm loving this series on actual physical and digital tools to help us get organized, systems. I hope you are too. We will be doing this as we lean into the fall. Soon we'll talk about goals and how to get really clear on making those goals that are going to set you up for success at the end of the year. I also have some ideas for organizing your onboarding systems and training your people. So if you want to hear about that, I would love to hear from you. You can email me at kayla@kfaconsulting.org. Let me know if that's something you want to hear about, or tell me about future ideas for the episode. It helps me so much when you let me know what's meaningful for you. All right, everyone, have a great day, and I will catch you next week in the next episode. Bye.